All right. Welcome back to the charts. External range liquidity, internal range liquidity. External range liquidity is a high or a low. And internal range liquidity is a fair value gap. Okay, hopefully you guys have watched the videos on fair value gaps and you've got that. Okay, but price is always moving to a high or a low or a fair value gap. All right, just let's go with that. Okay, and so let's take a look here. So what we got is we have this range from this high that took London. All right. This is something I would have been watching. All right. London high, New York open. We swoop up, we take London high, and we pull back into the range. Okay. And now we're back in. We did not continue to go. We did not create fair value gaps like out of it. Okay. Now, if we had started like creating fair value gaps like up here, I would probably be bullish. All right. But we didn't. We created a fair value gap, but it was just like a manipulation candle, just pull way up, started rejecting, coming down. We created a fair value gap right here. Okay. This actually would have been a good little trade if you wanted to trade right there. All right. And that would have been right at the time I would have traded. This definitely would have been a setup I would have taken. I could have taken it. I don't know. I just pulled back randomly in time and I'm looking. But that right there would definitely be something I'd be looking for. Okay. So we went from external, we started to create internal liquidity. So now we're going to move to internal liquidity. So once we've hit internal liquidity, where are we going to go? We're going to go to an external liquidity. Well, where's external liquidity? Well, one external liquidity is right here. Okay. I could have looked at that right there. All right. I'm going to go ahead and drop this fib off. It's not as important. But these are fair value gaps right here. There's one right here. And then there's one up here. You could have traded either one of them. It would have been great. All right. So this is a external range liquidity. So after taking this trade, this is a trade right here. All right. We've got our time-based liquidity swept. Moved into a fair value gap. Let's just say like right there-ish. Okay. Stop above the high. And then down to the external right there. Almost a 2-to-1. I would take that. That would be a trade I would take. Okay. If you are worried about it, or if you were second guessing, you could move this down to the candle body closes, but not much further than that. That barely makes it a 2-to-1. Still something, I really like 2-to-1s, but just with this being as clean as it is, taking external, creating fair value gap, returning the fair value back, rejecting the fair value gap, this is something I would look to take. Now, on a little bit bigger of a time frame down here, okay, what do we have? Right here, fair value gap. Okay. See that fair value gap down here on the little bit larger time frame? So it's like we're coming up here, we're in the external liquidity up here. Okay. We sweep that external liquidity, we clean it. So where are we going to return to? Internal liquidity. Okay. So with this in mind, this trade definitely would have looked a little bit different. Okay. I was gonna say, where'd you go? All right. I definitely would have been looking to pull all the way down. And there you go. Okay. I still would have taken profit right here because this is the London low. All right. So that's something I would have done. But that's how we move from external range liquidity to internal range liquidity. All right. So just remember, price is always moving to a high or a low, and price is always moving to a fair value gap. One of those three. This is all price ever does. All right. It just moves to these. Okay. So if you don't have clear signs of external liquidity or internal liquidity, and you don't have a pulse on where the market potentially could go, it might just be best not to trade. Okay. We had this huge fair value gap here. This was a good opportunity for price to bounce. And it did. It bounced more than once. It bounced here, and then it bounced here, and that's actually where it moved up. Now, internal liquidity like this, these are targets for me. This is something I would target. This external liquidity here is something I would have targeted for this trade. So just remember, you can use internal and external liquidity as entries and targets. So hopefully that was helpful. And just let us know if you guys have any questions in the Discord.